AT, how are you today?
Phil, I'm doing well, man. How you guys doing today?
Oh, doing well. No complaints.
Got that Friday feeling today, AT. It's the day before the weekend. You got college football tonight. You got college football tomorrow. Let me just put this question to you pretty succinctly here, because I don't know anybody that wants to take a bet like this. Arkansas UAPB. Hogs are favored by 51.5 points. You usually, every week you do. These are the games I like to pick. These are the ones I want to stay away from. I would guess that this is one you'd stay away from with a number like that.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't really broken down too much of Pine Bluff's depth chart and how they're running the ball this year, how that run defense is against, the Hogs' great run offense. So this is one I'll probably sit out. What'd you say it was, Phil? 51.5?
51.5 points. That's right. And the most Arkansas scored in a game this year is 52.
So that
it was 51.
So
they needed 52. That's exactly right. I made that. That's my mistake.
Well, I will tell you, that is one I hope the Hogs cover. I'm sure that would make a lot of very happy people in the greater Fayetteville area. But yeah, I'll be staying away from that one, Phil, to answer your question.
Yeah, I would too. Though I'll be there because I kind of have to. Best game of the weekend for me in the SEC. I love the Mississippi-LSU game for reasons that extend off the field as well, for obvious reasons. But everybody was surprised with LSU showing last week against Florida. I mean, who knew they could run the ball like that? Mississippi, they've kind of specialized in winning some really close games of late. And then you throw in the soap opera that's behind this with Coach O and Coach Kiffin maybe being looked up by LSU and the relationship these guys have, throw in Arch Manning and everything like that. I mean, this is this Coach Pittman says UAPB Arkansas is going to be a barn burner. I say Mississippi LSU is the barn burner.
Wow, you guys must be having trouble selling tickets there. Sam Pittman's giving the hard sell. No, yeah, I'm with you guys, man. And I'll say there's a couple variables that I don't think people are talking about, which one of them I sort of understand. Ole Miss is not out of the SEC championship game picture. I mean, they would have to win out, and Alabama would need to lose again. But, they're sitting there with one loss in conference play and obviously a narrow win over Arkansas. But I only bring it up because, this is a really important game for them. They are a team, they got their bye early in the year, so they are not going to really have a chance like Georgia this week, like Alabama next week, like whoever, Auburn is off this week. They're not going to have a chance to really, to really kind of slow things down and, ease into this one or ease out of this one. I mean, it's full speed ahead. And so you factor in that they still have a ton to play for. I mean, everybody still kind of does this time of year, but really, them more than a lot of teams. With the fact that Matt Corral's banged up, I mean, everything that happened last Saturday night at Neyland Stadium, I think people don't realize, Matt Corral, 30 carries, and Lane Kiffin all week has been kind of coy about how much he thinks Matt Corral will play. Now, I expect him to play, but if Matt Corral can't run the football, I was kind of blown away when I saw this. Matt Corral is Ole Miss's leading rusher on top of obviously being their leading passer as well, and so it changes the dynamic of the game. We know that Ole Miss defense, is not elite. Let me put it to you that way. We all saw what the Hogs were able to do to them. 700 yards of offense. So I bring it up to say, one, I think it's going to be a compelling game, even though the spread's about 9.5, whatever it is. And then two, Ole Miss is kind of in a precarious spot where you kind of got to play Matt Corral. If you don't play Matt Corral, that puts you in one spot. But then even if you do play him, how healthy is he, and how healthy is he coming out of this game? Because, again, Ole Miss still has a bunch of tough games ahead of them, including Auburn and Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm. On the other side of the matchup, talk about Phil mentioned it there briefly about the drama going on with LSU. Who do we believe in the stories, Aaron? Do we believe the initial reports of the hitting on the pregnant wife of a board member? Do we believe the girlfriends and kids report at practice, or do we believe the players who said that none of that ever happened? Because I want to believe the former. I want to believe that he had like 4 girlfriends there at one time. Like, that's what I want to believe. But do we believe – which side do you think is more honest?
Well, so it's really interesting, right? Because I think, when the stories first came out, they were definitely salacious. And, you kind of felt like, is this some kind of weird leak from the athletic department to try and, hurt Coach O? But, if you look at kind of the reaction, one from Coach O, kind of Sunday afternoon, but then two on top of that, I read a great article from an LSU beat writer last night that said, LSU is paying Coach O's buyout maybe to frankly keep him quiet with everything going on, an NCAA investigation, Title IX investigations, all that kind of stuff. And basically it was like, hey, here's your full buyout. You can't be smearing the football program, though, on your way out the door. So, I will say that, the stories at first glance, I kind of believe, like, is this some kind of weird thing by LSU, kind of what's going on with Tennessee and Jeremy Pruitt, a very public back and forth? Is this kind of an LSU trying to get out ahead of this so that they can get out of some buyout money or something weird like that? But they're paying him his buyout. I do believe that probably to some degree to keep him quiet and make sure that he doesn't talk too much. So, Drew, to answer your question, I really don't know what to make of it. I tend to believe, one, we've obviously all seen the pictures. He was a single man. He is allowed to do what he wants. But I will tell you, when I read a lot of those articles, I do think that kind of made sense to me in terms of a little bit of what led to the downfall was, he was single, he was having fun, he was having the time of his life. Doesn't mean that he's hitting on boosters' wives. Doesn't mean that he's bringing, his girlfriends and their kids to practice and putting them in tackling drills or anything like that. So, Drew, what I would say is, and we've all been doing this a long time, usually when you hear crazy stuff like that, one side's going to tell you one side, one side's going to tell you the other. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle. My hunch would be that on this one, the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, probably, but that's just not as fun to think about. And that's the sad part. I want the cartoonishly stupid things that are being rumored and being reported to be fact. But, you brought up Tennessee and what Jeremy Pruitt is trying to sue them. But actually on the field, winning 2 out of the last 3, didn't look that bad against Ole Miss before trash started flying. Famed third Saturday of October this week against Alabama. Alabama's still just going to run the doors off them and continue that winning streak that's gone on since I think I was in middle school? Or does Tennessee, you think, maybe have an outlier shot at this?
There's a great meme that goes around this time every year that it's like all the things that were happening the last time Tennessee beat Alabama. I could be mistaken. I don't believe the iPhone had been invented yet. I don't believe Facebook had been invented yet. I can't remember all the details. Maybe it was Instagram and not Facebook. I don't know. But it's been a while. Look, Alabama's not losing this game. And the thing with me is the only way Tennessee is going to be competitive, it just comes down to is Hendon Hooker healthy? I mean, we all saw listen, we've all been watching Joe Milton for 2 years between the Michigan and the early part of the Tennessee season, and we all saw how the game ended last week. That is not a guy that is going to go into Tuscaloosa and keep things close if Hendon Hooker can't go. So I was actually a little bit surprised, having watched both those guys last year, that Hendon Hooker didn't win the job outright coming out of fall camp. But once he's been inserted, as you said, Drew, completely different team, completely different team, completely different offense, moving the ball. And it's worth noting, as you said, like they were moving the ball and driving to potentially win that game last Saturday when he went down there with about 3 or 4 plays to go in the game. So to me, I think, I saw, Phil talked about the gambling picks and stuff. I saw the money coming in this week on Tennessee. I just don't know how you can be comfortable betting that one, not knowing who the quarterback is, and then beyond that, how healthy that quarterback will be once he takes the field.
Let's switch over to basketball to wrap things up here, AT. And, preseason polls, preseason rankings don't mean anything except for what the coaches want to make of them if they so choose to. Arkansas is picked 3rd preseason by the media in the SEC and number 16 in the preseason media poll. Is that too high? Is it too low? Is it about right? What do you think?
Yeah, I had him a few spots higher. I had him around 10 or 11, I think, in my last one that I did. I think it's a little low. I don't think it's, egregious. Now, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, though. All these watch lists have come out for college basketball. I haven't seen a single hog on those. I didn't see a single hog on the first-team All-SEC in the preseason. Mm-hmm. To me, those are more egregious. And I think we might have talked about this last week, but, I think a lot of the people that vote on these things, they just kind of look at box scores and stats. And, there's no one that watched Devo Davis over the final 10, 15, 20 games, whatever it was of last season, and doesn't think that he's one of the 5 to 7 best players in the SEC this year. So to me, that felt much more egregious than the ranking at number 16. Again, I just kind of browse those watch lists. I get all the emails and stuff, but I didn't see any hogs on any of those award sheets. And, I think when Devo Davis is averaging, 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in middle of January, the people that didn't put them on their list, they're going to look stupid. So that was the one that stood out to me. The top 25, you could nitpick a little bit. I have Arkansas finishing second this year in the SEC. I saw that they're picked to finish third. All I'll say, man, the SEC in basketball is going to be loaded as well. I mean, you look at some of those teams, even ranked behind Arkansas. LSU is really good. Criticize Will Wade. The man can coach and he can recruit. Bruce Pearl, Auburn is rolling. Florida's interesting. Mississippi State is super talented. So, this is going to be another banner year for SEC basketball. And I'm just telling you guys, it's going to be a fun year. But, yeah, I saw that Arkansas was ranked in the top, number 16 or whatever it was. I didn't think it was anything super, super, super egregious.
Real quick, Aaron, because I did retweet your story early in the week when the preseason polls came out, and your first underrated was Arkansas for everything you just mentioned. But I got to ask, your first overrated one was my alma mater, the University of Memphis.
Sure.
Is it the penny factor, or you just don't believe in the freshmen, the people coming in? Well, I mean, you kind of singled them out as the first one you went to.
No, AT did that upon request from the hosts of this show. You just didn't know.
Well, let me just say real quick. So, first of all, Memphis fans think I hate Penny. I think he's great for college basketball. I think college basketball needs more characters. College football does great with characters, Coach O, Mike Leach, Lane Kiffin, whatever. College basketball needs more Penny Hardaways. My thought is this, Drew. How many top 25 polls did you see Memphis in before Jalen Duren and Imani Bates committed?
0.
Probably not very many. And my only thing is I think these are two incredibly talented players. We've seen freshmen elevate programs. I'm not sure that these are those guys. Not because they're not really good. Imani Bates is 17 years old. He is he should be a senior in high school. There's a lot of times guys reclassify and they're in the right age to be a freshman. This kid won't be 18 until January or February of next year. And so to ask him to put, the entire program on his back or to be the face of the program or whatever it is, I just think feels like a little bit much. There are some really good veterans. It is worth noting that. But my concern is part of that as well is, listen, basketball is a sport. You can only play 5 guys at a time, and there's only one basketball. Mm. This isn't football where you can rotate 12 defensive linemen and everybody feels like they got their reps. And so you have 13 really good players. They all think that they should play. The fact that, probably the 2 most prominent players are freshmen, but they're going to be relying on veterans. All that kind of leads up to, to where I just think they're a little bit overrated. And on top of that, by the way, Penny Hardaway sold Imani Bates, who's never really been a playmaker. He's been a scorer, but not really a playmaker and get others involved. He sold Imani Bates on being a point guard, and that was how he got up to Memphis in the first place. Hey, I'm the original big point guard. Come play for me. I don't think Imani Bates is a point guard. And so the talent is there, and I always say with Memphis, by the end of last year, they were one of the 68 best teams in college basketball. The resume just wasn't good enough for a tournament berth. So I think they go to a tournament, but you're ranked number 12 in the country going into the preseason. You're not supposed to go to the tournament. You're supposed to be a second weekend, 30-5 going into the tournament, 3-seed, 4-seed type team. I'm just not sold that they're there yet.
I can't argue with anything you just said. Very fair.
I am. Everybody thinks that I hate their team. It's like, no, I just think about this. I think this is the problem. I think about this stuff too much, and so I have too much logic when it goes into this stuff. And I probably
fans don't like logic. 18. We don't want.
No,
that.
They don't.
Well, the aspect they really don't. You also don't go by brand name very often, Aaron. I think a lot of times in the preseason stuff, at least, and maybe early in seasons too, I think voters go by brand name. Sometimes, if they see a certain record beside them, they'll go with the brand that they recognize.
Real quick, I think they still do. I mean, Alabama loses to Texas A&M. They barely drop a spot. Ohio State, by the way, is still ranked ahead of Michigan, And, Ohio State, they're ranked ahead of a bunch of teams, and it's like Michigan's undefeated. I know Michigan's a huge brand, too, but it's like, I know Ohio State's playing well, but they beat Rutgers and Maryland in Big Ten play. Can we pump the brakes before, we crown Ohio State? And I do think they're improving, but I do think there's definitely – listen, I said it last week. Kentucky was 6-0 and 4-0 in SEC play going into that Georgia game. When's the last time you've seen a 6-0, 4-0 in SEC play team ranked outside the top 10? Now, they were number 11,
Never.
But we know if that was Georgia, they'd be number 1 or number 2 in the country. So you get the point I'm trying to make.
But Cincinnati was number 2. It was kind of nuts. All right, AT, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time, as always. Great work, and have yourself a good weekend.
All right, we'll see you guys soon. Go Hogs. Talk soon, guys.
Right.
Appreciate it, Aaron.
Aaron Torres from the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast.
We're back and better than ever. A new web interface to start the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV 50 to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, and baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.